Hey, I've been doing this for a long time. I love teaching LinkedIn as a business tool. For me, it's just a whole lot of fun, and mostly because of this. Most people don't have a clue how to use LinkedIn appropriately. They are taught that it's a job search tool, or they're taught that it is a sales tool, and that's not what it is. And I started writing an answer to a question. I answer questions. This is not where I want to be. I answer questions all day long. I got to find them. Here it is. All day long, I answer questions on a tool called Quora. I'm going to read this question, and I'm going to read the answer to it, and then I'll go into my conversation. The question I got asked is, what is LinkedIn and why do you use it? Here's the answers. LinkedIn's a business tool. It's not just a social media site. LinkedIn's about professional networking, not just to make connections or grow 1 million followers. LinkedIn's a research tool. Those who use LinkedIn appropriately understand that key feature of LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a social listening tool. You can hear or read about what's going on in your industry with your peers, your competitors, and your clients through the content that's going on LinkedIn. So why do I use LinkedIn? Because there's no other platform with 816 million professionals on it. 170 or 180 million in the US. Why do I use it? Because I can easily pay attention to a significant number of LinkedIn members who are important to me, i.e. in my industry, in my region, and potentially partners or clients. Why do I use it? Because I can discover who I know, who knows the next person I need to meet for whatever purpose. Business related. I have to throw that in. Some guys out there are idiots. No more to say about that. Why do I use it? Because I have access to everything that's in LinkedIn via any device. It's on my mobile phone, it's on my iPad, it's on my desktop, it's on my MacBook Pro. Heck, it shows up on my Apple Watch when I remember to wear it. That's a horrible feeling when you're riding down the road and go, oh my God, where'd it go? Why do I use LinkedIn? Because I can share and engage on it and build my personal/professional brand. So I got to finish writing this answer, but I got a kick out of when I showed up. I thought I would share it with you. By the way, when we're having this conversation, I got a very small slide deck that I'm going to use, very small slide deck / talking points. And after I get done with these talking points, I'm going to go into LinkedIn Live and I'm going to use your profiles to talk about what you should, maybe shouldn't, what you could, and what you can do to use LinkedIn as a business tool. My other part of that statement is ask me questions. Ask me questions, because if you ask me questions, that tells me you're listening. And if you're listening, you are eligible for the potential $1,000 gift cards that we got from Avery.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
You're over there taking notes, right?
I'm trying.
You know, I had the ability to do transcription with Zoom. I just didn't turn that feature on. It would have made your life a whole lot easier.
That's all right.
So, all right, let's do this conversation. Why should the legal industry professionals, I think most of you are in that bucket, why should you be using LinkedIn as a business tool? First of all, I've already alluded to this. It's the world's largest professional networking site out there, 816 million. And by the way, I try to keep my slides up to date. 816 million people, 184 million just in the US. In 2005, I took my first sales job. In 2007, I said, I'm no longer cold calling anybody. Never did I ever want to call. I did my fair share. I learned how to do it and I knew how to do it well, but it wasn't for me. What I discovered is through tools like LinkedIn, I can find people that Rafe knows that I need to get to know, and I can ask him to introduce me. That was huge. That was a phenomenal switch in my business development plans. I can find and stay aware of what's going on. Again, I talked about my peers in my industry, country. It's really easy. If they have a LinkedIn presence and they're doing anything on LinkedIn, I can figure it out. And it gives me an advantage over those who are not paying attention. I can find the people who know the people who know the people that I want to have a conversation with. By the way, I couldn't find Sean Delaney. He looks familiar. I don't know if we met before, but I could not find you on LinkedIn. Are you there, Sean?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you on LinkedIn?
I am not.
See, I pay attention. I looked all over for you, dude. I couldn't find you. I was heartbroken, man.
So it's working.
See, that's called relationship development. He got me to shed a tear. In my office, Charlie's been in my office dozens of times via Zoom. In my office behind me on my shelves is my Rolodex. I don't know if you remember that or not. I also have a Princess phone and I also have an old bag phone. But I have an old Rolodex. I also have 3 buckets of business cards in my closet or used as props. Why? I don't need that stuff anymore. I don't need a Rolodex. Everybody that I know and that I have met, I'm either connected with them on LinkedIn and or they're in my Google Docs. I use Google Contacts. I don't need a Rolodex. Anybody have a Rolodex on their desk?
Not gonna admit to it now.
But think about it. If everywhere you go, you take your people with you, it's way easier, way easier. And I've been in the BNI world and used the BNI tools. And then soon I figured out I don't need to carry that around. It's way freer to be walking down the street with my people in my pocket than to worry about some other tool to keep track of them. So, how do you guys keep track of all your contacts? Anybody got some really cool way you do it?
Go out.
Right?
That's about it.
Outlook's fun.
Are you a Microsoft guy?
Yeah.
I kind of figured most of my tech people are Microsoft guys. So they're in Outlook.
Yeah, and
Then you have the
then
Outlook app.
just my contacts on the phone too, my Apple contacts.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I don't have it in one, it's in the other.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's all in one for me. I'm old and feeble. If I have to remember which one it's in, it'll make me crazy. My wife doesn't want crazy anymore.
This is
44
more
years.
personal, where Outlook is more work.
I get that. Yeah. See, my personal world and my business world have merged into one because I'm Teddy and I run this is my business. And if I was working for somebody else, yeah, I'd have to.
Yeah.
But it really makes life easier if you know how to go find out where they are,
Mhm.
So, hey, look, I found most of you. I didn't find all of you. There's your LinkedIn profile URLs. I didn't bring everybody up yet, but I brought up a bunch of you. So it's a professional branding platform. You got to think that way. You look at my LinkedIn profile. If you're confused, I've screwed up big time. If someone looks at your LinkedIn profile, they better, for your sake and theirs, figure out who you are pretty quickly. If they look at your LinkedIn profile like, I don't know, you got your current job as, in the legal industry and your previous job as a barista and your other job is something else and there's no alignment and by the way, you can create alignment in any role. If you think about it, you can create relevance in any role, barista, dust bunny collector, or whatever. But they look at your profile and they can easily figure out who you are and what you do today. That's power. If they look at it and they're confused, then it's a waste of time. So my profile, I often ask this, I'm sometimes leery to ask it. Meredith, do you have a Chrome browser open? Can you go to Google? And so I know she's looking at it. If you don't mind, go to Google and look for 2 words, LinkedIn space trainer. Could you do that for me, Meredith?
I sure can.
And just report back when you get it. I built my LinkedIn profile out, hopefully, so when people look for the words that are relevant to me and relevant to what I do for them, I show up in a Google search. I don't always, but often I do. Meredith, what city are you in?
I am in Zebulon, North Carolina.
I'm going to get embarrassed. I know it.
Sorry, my computer, because I am in Zebulon, North Carolina, is super slow. We're outside of Raleigh.
Yeah, I know where Zebulon is. I go through there a lot. So Often I'll show up at least on the first page, if not the second item in the list. Zebulon, I may not.
All right, so I'm sorry, it took my computer forever. What am I actually searching?
2 words, LinkedIn trainer.
I just searched it. You're the first one that comes up.
Bam! Claudine, what city are you in?
Carrie.
Oh, that's right down the street.
Mhm.
It's on the other
Yeah.
side.
You were the
Yeah.
first one that wasn't an ad for me.
Oh, God. I
You're the
love it
first
when I
one
don't
for
get-
me right here. I just did it.
Oh, thank you. I love it when I don't get embarrassed. And I do get embarrassed because region sometimes will screw it up. But I've had it in Denver, Sacramento, Portland, Oregon. There I'll show up at the top. But that's not because I have magic. It's not because I pay money. It's because I built my LinkedIn profile out that deliberately. And I want to be found by those who are looking for LinkedIn training. Now, where I screwed up is LinkedIn trainer is an important word, but the most important phrase is LinkedIn training. Ladies, don't look for that because I will get embarrassed. Because LinkedIn training is an expensive keyword. Expensive means there are lots of people out there who pay to have that keyword for their SEO, and I don't pay for it. So, but anyway, I want people to find me. I want them to look at my profile and clearly understand who I am and what I can do for them. And the same thing with my content, my branded content. I want them to look at that branded content and not be confused as to what I do. So I don't do smoke and mirrors. I'm pretty straight up, black and white kind of a guy, organic kind of a guy. Sometimes I use that phrase.
Tell you, it's worth noting that you live in Winston. So
Yeah.
those searches are in Raleigh
Yeah.
and you live in Winston.
And I got some peers in Raleigh who kind of like think they do what I do, and I'm being stupid, but I do have people in Raleigh who do what I do. So, but, and then the other big piece of how I get brand myself is through my content, the stories I tell, the comments I make, the content I share. And when you're thinking about building a brand, you need to build your brand focused on your target audience, telling stories and using words that are important to them. Nobody cares what my words are. I need to care what my target audience words are, what they use. So feel free to throw me any question while we're chatting about these things. Here's another big part of LinkedIn that a lot of people miss out on. It's a great place to find knowledge. There's 815 million people on there. There's at least 3 people who are smart, maybe a few more. Actually, I'm pretty proud of the fact that I focus on following people who are really, really smart. So I can find content, you can find content that's relevant to you, relevant to your industry, relevant to your clients. You can find content that makes you the superstar. When you find a piece of content and you share it, they go, oh my God, you're so smart. No, I just bumped into it. But that people look at you as the star or what's called the guide when you find content that is important and relevant and useful to them. Morningstar Law Group, who's in here with that? Yeah, I found you guys. Yeah. So find out what's going on with your peers / competitors. What is going on with them? What are they doing? And some of these peers may be trusted peers that you actually work with. So when you find out one of your peers is doing something really, really cool, that'd be worth sharing forward. It's mutually beneficial, makes you look good, makes them look good, somebody gets value from it. And none of this is hard. And then there's lots of diverse content on there. And I'm using that word diverse very simply, but it's a big word. There's conversations going. True story. A lady I met years ago, probably about 10 years ago, started a business selling exotic, I'm trying to use the public words I can use, exotic bikinis. That's her business, was selling bikinis, okay? She went on LinkedIn and she created a brand, just not selling, never sell, but just sharing with other professional women who like this wardrobe. And she built a huge following on LinkedIn of people who followed her. Now, of course, it attracted all the idiots. A lot of idiots jumped into her conversations. But that's okay. You can squash the idiots. But what happened is the more people who touch a piece of content, the more that piece of content gets seen. Her business blew up, exploded with unbelievable growth. And that's my point. I'm sharing that with you just to say there's lots of diverse content. But what you touch is what you see. So, George, right?
Yeah.
George, what's your last name?
Maludis.
I didn't find you on LinkedIn either.
Yeah, you did.
Did I?
Uh-huh.
Okay, maybe I got it then. Maybe I just missed it. Okay.
Saw me in the list.
Okay, cool. So yeah, George, you touch what you see on LinkedIn. So stay away from the cotton ball chasers or whatever. I'm trying to do a
What you
stupid
up to?
joke. I call it a dust bunny. It's true business I talked about years ago. Besides knowledge, you can grow by discovering what I refer to as the unexpected.
Unlike Sean, I guess mine's not working.
And this is a great way to grow. I'm also a career coach. I do mostly voluntary career coach. And I tell people all the time, this is where the dust bunny collector came from. You never know what opportunities are out there until you discover them. And you will never discover them if you're hiding. That's right. It's an Ed Catmull quote. You'll never stumble upon the unexpected if you stick only to the familiar. The familiar might be easy, but the really cool stuff is in the unfamiliar. Really cool quote. And again, that's one of the reasons why I follow people who are way different than me, but have really cool ideas. So, and I'll send the slide deck to you as well, George, when I get done. Here's another big benefit of using LinkedIn. Ever heard of a dude named Steven Johnson? Anybody ever heard of him? He wrote a book called Where Great Ideas Come From. And I got to stop sharing and reshare because I didn't turn it on with the feature I want. Share audio. And I want to share this video. Oh, why is it doing that? It's not supposed to do that. Go back. It's not. Uh-oh. My audio is off, but it's echoing back. Stop it. All right, I'm gonna play the video. Hopefully it doesn't screw up. It's not working. Oh, wait a minute.
To get rid of the tip. Yes.
No, it might be me. It might be me.
Okay, just asking.
Their system's not letting me play the audio. I'm sorry.
They're gonna send someone just to troubleshoot it.
I might come back to this in a little bit. Because it's, if I don't play it now, you need to listen to this video. It's a really cool video. I'm gonna reshare and turn off the audio. Share
So,
sound.
hey Teddy, with the search LinkedIn trainer, is that something you have to pay for?
No, just do a Google search.
Okay.
You talking about for LinkedIn trainer?
Yes,
Just
if you want to do
regular-
something for yourself.
Yeah, it's just a tactic I use.
Okay, you'll show us how to do that.
So you were saying that because of the content that you post, you're up at the top at no cost, right? You're not paying for that
Correct.
because it's based on
Yeah.
the content that he
And
puts out.
views.
I'm gonna show it
Yes.
to you. What, Courtney?
Yes.
Yes, I got it right. Courtney, I'm trying to share a video. I've got it in here. And
There's
when I
no
play it,
volume.
Oh,
and I know how to turn it on here.
so just so it doesn't echo. Turn that on now.
Share sound
And now when you go, it should be good.
and go back to my prezo. It won't let me. So I'm not gonna. It may be something to do with
Yeah, there you go.
There
There you go.
Can you hear me, Claudine? Don't know why it's echoing back.
This partially
Oh.
because good ideas normally come from the collision between smaller hunches. Other ideas almost. For the past 5 years, I've been investigating this question of where good ideas come from. It's the kind of problem I think all of us are intrinsically interested in. We want to be more creative. We want to come up with better ideas. We want our organizations to be more innovative. I've looked at this problem from an environmental perspective. What are the spaces that have historically led to unusual rates of creativity and innovation? And what I've found in all of these systems, there are these recurring patterns that you see again and again that are crucial to creating environments that are unusually innovative. One pattern I call the slow hunch, that breakthrough ideas almost never come in a moment of great insight, in a sudden stroke of inspiration. Most important ideas take a long time to evolve, and they spend a long time dormant in the background. It isn't until the idea has had 2 or 3 years, sometimes 10 or 20 years to mature, that it suddenly becomes accessible to you and useful to you in a certain way. And this is partially because good ideas normally come from the collision between smaller hunches, so that they form something bigger than themselves. So you see a lot in the history of innovation, cases of someone who has half of an idea. There's a great story about the invention of the World Wide Web and Tim Berners-Lee. This is a project that Berners-Lee worked on for 10 years. But when he started, he didn't have a full vision for this new medium he was going to invent. He started working on one project as a side project to help him organize his own data. He scrapped that after a couple years, and he started working on another thing. And only after about 10 years did the full vision of the World Wide Web come into being. That is, more often than not, how ideas happen. They need time to incubate, and they spend a lot of time in this partial hunch form. The other thing that's important when you think about ideas this way is that when ideas take form in this hunch state, they need to collide with other hunches. Oftentimes, the thing that turns a hunch into a real breakthrough is another hunch that's lurking in somebody else's mind. And you have to figure out a way to create systems that allow those hunches to come together and turn into something bigger than the sum of their parts. That's why, for instance, the coffee house in the Age of the Enlightenment or the Parisian salons of modernism were such engines of creativity, because they created a space where ideas could mingle and swap and create new forms. When you look at the problem of innovation from this perspective, it sheds a lot of important light on the debate we've been having recently about what the internet is doing to our brains. Are we getting overwhelmed with an always connected, multitasking lifestyle? And is that going to lead to less sophisticated thoughts as we move away from the slower, deeper, contemplative state of reading, for instance? Obviously, I'm a big fan of reading, but I think it's important to remember that the great driver of scientific innovation and technological innovation has been the historic increase in connectivity and our ability to reach out and exchange ideas with other people, and to borrow other people's hunches and combine them with our hunches and turn them into something new. That really has, I think, been, more than anything else, the primary engine of creativity and innovation over the last 600 or 700 years. And so yes, it's true we're more distracted. But what has happened that is really miraculous and marvelous over the last 15 years is that we have so many new ways to connect and so many new ways to reach out and find other people who have that missing piece that will complete the idea we're working on, or to stumble serendipitously across some amazing new piece of information that we can use to build and improve our own ideas. That's the real lesson of where good ideas come from, that chance favors the connected mind.
Great book, great. I'm going to turn off all the audio now. Really, now I got it fixed. Yeah, I'm figuring it out now. Really a cool concept, and I've discovered for myself that this happens to me regularly. And I would wager for each of you in some way or another, this idea about bumping into somebody with an idea, and then you take an idea, and it can happen. It happens on a regular basis for me and people that I work with, where I got a client in, I think he's in Portland, or somewhere in Washington State. He has this idea for this whole new training program he wants to do. Well, he doesn't have two pieces. He doesn't have sales training and he doesn't have social media training. So he and I were talking about an idea about social media training as a part of his project. And I said, well, wait a minute, I got another idea. Let's go get some of the top end sales training companies and have them do it. Well, he didn't know the right people to talk to. And so our conversations created a whole nother idea. And that's real. Behind me on my wall, there's a plaque, a long plaque, and the plaque says this: it all starts with a conversation. And for me, it often gets started with a good connection with the right person on LinkedIn. You never know where it's going to go. So, stop. Our professional brand is built around the words that we use in real life. My mama told me that, and she said it in slightly different words. But it also is built based on the words we use on social media, including LinkedIn. It can have a huge impact, positively or negatively, on our brands. And there's a stack here I talk about, but I won't go too deep into it because I want to move forward with other things that are important. The stack is our knowledge, our conversations, our connections. The way we present ourselves and the way we get into conversations is what is the foundation of our brand. But it starts with who we are and who we connect with along the way. So what I want to do now, I'm going to spend maybe 5 minutes on LinkedIn profiles. And I'm going to go into LinkedIn and we'll talk about LinkedIn profiles. And I'll answer your questions, any and all questions you have, about 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, about LinkedIn profiles. And then we'll talk about LinkedIn networks, and then we'll talk about engagement. And it'll all start to make sense as we start talking about it. So, I don't know if I have everybody's profile up here, but, I got Meredith's. When you build it in Meredith, nothing I'm saying is going to be critical. It's just going to be guidance. So I'm using your profile first, but I'm setting that stage up. And by the way, I'm Teddy Burriss. I'm full of ideas. Every one of you should adopt this philosophy. And that is to get a hug from people like Meredith gets right now, gets a hug. And the thing to share with you is I'm full of ideas. Use them as you see fit. Because my ideas aren't always the right ones. They're always right. First of all, put an image up here. It could be any image. This shows that, look, a big old gray box. It would be a lot nicer if they look at your profile and they see, some imagery. Now, maybe it's branded imagery. We got Garrett down here on the right, I think. Yeah. It doesn't have to be branded, but it could be. Rafe's got his branded slightly different. Charlie's got a visual. What is that, Raleigh? It's Raleigh. Yeah. Put some kind of image. It's just more appealing when people stop and look at it. Be an ally. Where's Mallory?
Right here.
Is that be an ally of?
It's LGBTQIA.
Yep. I get it. Yeah. I think on mine, I went with at one point I went with Ukrainian conversation. TLBLI. Now and then I switched it to keep it simple. So, but when people look at your profile, let them see a little color to begin with. Everybody needs a beautiful picture. Now, not everybody can have a beautiful picture, And I'm joking. Sometimes I do this. I go, can I look at everybody's face for a minute? Most of us should have our profile picture up there. And I'm joking. You know what a profile picture says if you don't have a profile picture? What that says is that you're not approachable. And you want to be approachable. So everybody should have a profile picture. And it doesn't need to be a glamour shot like mine, Doesn't need to be, mine's not either. But it does need to be a picture of you. And then, then the rest of it is your story. My name. It's just my name. It's not, and Meredith, I'd ask this question: how many people in business you work with today know you as Meredith Jackson versus Meredith Hamladis?
That was pretty impressive. Probably, I'd say over half of my connections would know me as Meredith Humlatus. I was at Jackson for 35 years, so
Okay.
No.
there's still several.
Yeah, so that, then you use former name if you need to use former name. But often I run into profiles where people will put, you know, their ABC, BCC, XYZ, 1, 2, 3, and all that stuff. And that distracts. And you know, nothing wrong with a little bit. But let me tell you, the real estate industry, is there anybody here in real estate? Oh my golly, they got this long string that everybody wants to see all their cred. And they don't need to see your cred, they need to see your name. Who are you? We'll talk, well, we can demonstrate the cred in the stories. And then there's a lot more. You know, what do you put in your contact information? Do you make yourself accessible with your website and maybe your email address, maybe your phone number to make yourself accessible? You'll be far more successful in your business, in your career, the more accessible you are. So I learned that along the way. And then in your story, this is called your about section. Sometimes it's called your summary section. This is your story where you tell your most important viewer, your target audience, your client, your prospect, whatever, who you are, what you do, and listen to these words, what you can do for them. And that's a powerful, and by the way, there's another piece of that too. Not only who you are, what you do, what you can do, what you can do for them, but what you enjoy doing. Because think about this from your own perspective. How often do you hire a plumber that hates dealing with plumbing? Do you go to get the tires done with a dude who hates doing tires? Or do you go deal with people who love doing what you need to have done? So let them know up front, I love doing this stuff. It's all in the words you use. So, and there's a ton of other sections of LinkedIn profile that you may or may not want to use. You know, there's your experience section where, you know, you tell them what you do, what you can do. How, again, similar to your about section, telling your target audience what you do relevant to them. And, you know, Mallory is a legal administrator. You do all this work internally, but you think about writing it in a way that speaks to the client. Because that's who you're trying to appeal to here. You want the client to see you as a White and Allen employee talking about what you do internally that creates value for them. It's a whole nother philosophy. This is not a resume. People who think their LinkedIn profile is a resume have been misled. This is a brochure. Should I say it that way? Brochure? Or just say brochure?
Yeah, sure.
I have a question about that piece because, you know, that's coming at it from the perspective that everyone's happy in their job and that we're promoting the company.
But I can't be here and talk about that part. But true point.
I'm just saying, I mean, what I see is sort of, you kind of talk about, you know, the top of the pyramid being your online brand, right? And so I tell this to folks on my team. I'm like, look, like we had, this is very timely, I had my own LinkedIn training, not nearly as great as this.
Obviously,
yesterday, but it was about, just because there were some requirements for some of these folks to be on LinkedIn, because it's what we said, the legal network, what's happening now, that's where we're engaging.
Yeah.
That'd be the case. I recommended they look at it as a personal brand, but I'm not going to ask them.
Yeah.
I just was curious about that because, you know, there seems to be a little more, it's kind of storytelling in the piece. I actually did think about that piece as kind of more of your online resume because I know when people look for recruiters and jobs, they tend to go there.
Yeah.
They kind of pull it that way,
Yeah.
as opposed to maybe the title where you do this and some of our folks did not, where your title is not from administrator, your title is, you know,
speaking to the client.
Consultative, you know,
Yeah.
approach.
And your name is?
Josh McIntyre.
I just want to go find you a list, Josh. I'm with you, Josh. Look, it's a brochure. So what's my brochure focused on? My brochure to me is today, until my wife fires me, is focused on my next client. Well, the moment that I think, or when I start thinking, well, maybe my brochure needs to speak to other practice administrators, practice leaders, practice owners, and maybe I'll make some adjustments in how my brochure speaks.
I just think even for attorneys, it's kind of which I mean, look, who's with Warren Smith here? Yeah.
Actually.
So anyway, my dad was like, he works for Warren Smith and was getting used to social media in the last several years and was getting help on that. And I think with attorneys, there's a nice element of having sort of that personal approach. I mean, people leave firms, they go to other firms, but having a brand bigger than the company is actually important in this space. You still bring clients in, and it's helpful for the company, right? It's helpful for the person, but it's helpful for the company.
Yeah.
I was just.
No, it's a good point. And look at the words you just used. I love the words you use. My brand is bigger than the company, but my brand is highly relevant to the company.
Right.
Yeah, I might steal that because I just recorded it at 4:55. I love that, man. Yeah. So
Can I ask
Yeah, buddy.
do law firms have someone who sets up the LinkedIn's for their?
We do.
We do.
And so,
Yes.
and do you encourage or do you expect are y'all both big, the firms? Yeah.
She's small.
Yeah, that's right. So, so do you then expect the attorney to work with it from there? You guys help set them up and then they
We
work?
help actually run their page, honestly.
their
It's,
personal profiles.
yes.
Yeah.
It's because otherwise they don't do anything.
do it.
And because most of our business comes from referrals,
Right.
because we're plaintiff side
Right.
employment law.
Right.
So we help build the attorney's profile on LinkedIn by providing them employment law news to comment on. They create the comment. It's their voice still on their
so
personal
you-
profile, but we are
give them
posting on their
content.
behalf. We give them content to comment on.
But do you log into their profiles or you just so you do log in with a system or individually?
Individually,
Okay. Yeah.
on their
I don't think
behalf.
we're-
It's still
we're
their
not going
voice.
that far. We're, I think we help set up, establish, update, and then we emphasize the importance of, especially pushing out our brand as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're trying to build their individual brands because people refer to an attorney, not to a firm.
Yeah.
So we are working on their individual brands and it's still their voice. Everything's coming from them. We do not ever post on there without their own words.
Yeah.
But it's just getting it done.
Mhm.
And then they still post on their own as well when they feel it necessary. We have
Okay.
one who's a big Iron Maiden fan and he posts about Iron Maiden all the time. And I'm like, Jesus. But
That's more
LinkedIn?
Facebook,
on
less
LinkedIn,
LinkedIn.
yes.
Remember I said earlier, there's diverse content because there are lots of different people. There might be Iron Maiden fans out there who could be.
Maybe he's getting
You
referrals from
don't
his
know.
Iron Maiden love, but that
The thing is, I decided to do like one personal thing after a few years, and it was when I got married, and that by far had the highest traffic. And I get
Absolutely.
it just was kind of like, LinkedIn recently started allowing tagging, with photos, and it didn't for a while.
Mhm.
And it's just interesting,
Yeah.
or else people love seeing pictures of people or themselves, and it is like it
That was kind of more
translates
what
from
I
Facebook
was.
to LinkedIn too.
Well,
Curious
we're going to talk
about-
about that in this third section about the content you should be sharing.
Okay.
And I've got a very radical perspective of that, which not everybody agrees to, especially my marketing professionals. But we'll talk about that in a few minutes because this is a human to human engagement tool. This
yes.
is not a brand to brand engagement. So building a LinkedIn profile, really, mine's 12 pages. Now yours doesn't need to be 12 pages. Why is mine 12 pages? Because I want people to do a Google search for LinkedIn trainer and discover me. That's why I built it that way. And then, by the way, that did not happen overnight. It probably took me 5 years to get to that point. Because it's not a race, it's a journey. Let's talk about the next big thing. The next big thing is as you're building your LinkedIn profile and you're starting to feel really good that it speaks well to your target audience. Bye, darling. I love it, Meredith. Thank you. And when as you're getting your brochure built, the next thing you need to do is start connecting with the right people. Now, don't compare yourself to me because you don't want to be like Teddy. I've got almost 15,000 connections. Let me tell you something about those 15,000 that most people who have a network that size don't understand. I've engaged with every single one of them since 2007. I do not connect without engaging. And it starts from the very point I get an invite. This dude named Josh McIntyre sends me a freaking invite. I don't know him from Adam's House Cat. I've never met the guy. Okay, so typically, and because he's sitting here, I won't do it. What I'm going to do is click on this see all. I never manage my LinkedIn network from this page. I always, which is my network, I go straight to see all. Why do I go here? Because now I can send this dude back a message. I'm going to play with him and do it. And by the way, I have shortcuts that I use to improve my typing because I don't need to type it all over and over again. I'm going to send this dude back a message and say, hey, dude, thanks for the invite. Who the heck are you? How do you find me? I'm all about LinkedIn as a business tool. What the heck do you want? You need to reply. And you'll notice I use much more polite words than that. That's what I just said. Now, Josh, I'm playing with you because he's sitting right here. But I send that message out to everybody who sends me an invite who does not tell me why they want to meet or connect, or I have never met before. I've been using that same script for about 5 years now. And here's what I get almost all the time. Thanks. Like, that's not what I asked you. And if they don't give me a meaningful, relevant response to my,
Ignore.
No, I don't. I have a different philosophy. Remember, this is my sandbox. Okay. I would tell every one of you, ignore. Maybe ignore and don't know. But if they appear to be real to me, I invite them to follow me. And LinkedIn just gave me a gift. I don't need to ask Josh to follow me because the fact that he sent me an invite, he is automatically following me. So, but I will hit ignore. And now what I do is there's 2 other places I want people to follow me. I invite them to follow me on YouTube, Quora, and now they're automatically following me on LinkedIn. And then I hit the ignore button. But here's the cool thing for me, the fact that I've engaged with them, and I will probably accept Josh's invite once I go look and make sure he's real. If I don't accept the invite, once I sent them a message back, that channel is open. He can message me anytime, and I can message him anytime. It's almost like being connected. But for all of you, I would tell you just hit the ignore button. You don't need to over vet like I do, because this is my sandbox. But this is part of the process. I don't connect with everybody who sends me an invite. And I don't send invites out with reckless abandon. I'm pretty purposeful. And as I told you earlier, I don't cold call. If I want to connect with somebody, if I want to connect with Josh, I'm going to call my friend Raina up. Do you know Raina Haig?
At some point, I connected with her since 2007.
Yeah, she's a good lady. And 25 other people. Can you see on my screen here? You know, Josh is... Stop. Josh is connected to Raina and 25 other people that I'm connected with. So if I want to meet this dude named Josh, I'm not sending him an invite. I'm asking the person that I know and have some level of trust with, do you know this dude named Josh? And again, I use much better words than this. And if so, would you introduce me to him? That's how I grow my business on a regular basis. And, you know, I don't care what your role is. Who's in HR? So in HR, talent acquisition, if I'm looking for candidates, I'm growing my network all around the industry that you're trying to find people in. Grow my network all around this industry. And so if I find a candidate that I think is of interest to me, I'm never going to send that person an email or message to connect. I'm going to ask someone to introduce me. And by the way, I teach people how to do recruiting. I don't care about your reference list.
No, you're not going to give a reference of somebody that's not going to give you a stellar reference.
I don't need your reference list. I just go find people that I know that know you and know your boss and call them up and say, hey, what do you think about this guy? You know, Josh, is he worth talking to? And they'll all say yes, I'm sure, Josh. So, I mean, this is why you build a network. And where do you start building your network? If, you know, for those of you who are fairly, you know, small networks, here's where most people don't spend enough time doing. They don't spend enough time growing their network with the people they already know. You should be looking in your Rolodex and find the people you already know and connect with them. That is the best way to start building a LinkedIn network. Because then those people can introduce you to the other people you want to meet, no matter what you're trying to do. Find a, you know, VRBO, find a, you know, new car dealer, find a new insurance agent, you know, find a, you know, anybody that has the services you're looking for, or a candidate, or you just heard of a lawsuit that's pending with a client, get introduced to the CEO of that firm before they have to tackle it. And I'm generalizing, I don't know your industry well enough to know. But yeah, but grow your LinkedIn network. My words are grow it every day, but grow it purposely, focused on your goals. Again, start with your people you already know. Thoughts, questions, anybody?
What do you recommend if you kind of went crazy with accepting connections?
I don't know what you're talking about. So
I have 16,000.
do you have 16? About, if you look at mine, I have 15,000, but Rafe, I've been very purposeful about that. In the early days, I was stupid. Click, 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 send, 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 no, 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 no. And then I got more deliberate. Here's my answer to that question. If you got a network that's too big and you don't know enough of them, maybe do one of two things. So go back to your network and go look at people, who is this, Drew Stewart person? Oh my God, he's relevant to me. Call him up. If he's relevant to you, message him. Drew, we're connected on LinkedIn since, 2005. We've never talked. If they're relevant to you, but you've never engaged with them, consider going to engage with them. If they're not relevant to you in any shape or form, hit the button, remove them. I don't do that.
Where is that button?
Here, I'll show you. Where's Rafe? Control tab. Where'd you go? I know you're right here. Right here. I'm teaching something listen to this. This is important. Do not even hover over that remove button. Don't even hover over it. Because the moment you click on it, it's done. There's no second step.
I see it. Okay.
I learned that the hard way. But yeah, it's remove connection.
That will take forever.
But don't worry about doing it. Unless you've reached some number that gets in the way. Or look at this. Look at your news feed and you see this one guy. Anybody know Melvin Scales? Personal friend of mine. You start seeing this stuff over and over again. You're sick and tired of seeing it. So then you can go get rid of him or just simply unfollow him. It's in here somewhere. Unfollow him. The only reason I remove people is when they become a problem. So questions about building your network.
You mentioned something about that that reminded me of what a lot of our team does, and I think attorneys would do the same potentially, but Teddy taught us to follow companies that we want to be a part of or do business with or whatever. And
get a conversation with.
Get a conversation. I knew I was saying get a conversation, open a conversation, right? And so, and then once you do that, you start seeing people that you may know or may know people that know, and so then it opens doors through that way, because you might say, hey, I want to have a conversation with ABC Company, but you don't know anybody at ABC, or you don't know who you know at ABC Company. So if you follow ABC Company, then it opens up a way to see others that may be connected to you already somehow to ABC.
Yeah. And there's two ways to connect with people in my book, besides sending out invites and hoping and praying, which this in business, I don't do hope and pray. Don't misunderstand me. I hope and pray a lot, but in business, my tactics are strategic. The first way is to get introduced. The second way is to bump into them. So, who's anybody here from Hatch, Little and Bun? Sean?
Ironically.
So if I wanted to meet somebody at Hatch, Little and Bun, and I'm gonna go look at their content. Now they're not using LinkedIn.
I think we have 26 employees.
Yep. But I'm going to follow the company, and if they share a piece of content and then they tag one of their principals, then I may go engage on that content in some meaningful way, relevant to them, not me. It's not about me, and that could potentially, doesn't always, open the door up for a next, to send Sean an invite once he builds his profile, and then connect with him, and then say hi to him. And this is a journey, not a race. So I'm not going to pounce on him and try to sell him. That will fail miserably. Right, Sean?
That is correct.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the third piece. So you're building this drop. Here's my story. You're building this drop dead gorgeous LinkedIn profile that speaks to your target audience, telling them who you are and what you do. This is sort of like putting on a nice clean shirt and shining my shoes up and finding a halfway decent pair of pants to put on this morning. Okay. Looking good and going to a networking event. And then you walk into the building and there's 150 people in the building. 80 of them know you well, trust and respect you. Some of them are your best drinking buddies. Okay. Great knee high and cheer wine, by the way. But the others you've never met, but they're relevant to you because they're in a relevant networking event. Can you picture this? Looking good, and you walk into this really cool networking event where there's a lot of people. That's building your LinkedIn network with people who are highly relevant to you. You with me? Good profile, good network. Here's what most people do when they, in the third step, they go into that networking event and they do this. Or they go hang out with their buddy and they never have a conversation with the other people in the room. Have you pictured that before?
That's me.
Or here's the other extreme, and I'm okay with that. Here's the other extreme. Or they walk into the room with a box that they just picked up from Staples that has brand new brochures in it, and they hand a brochure out to everyone.
Every single person.
And then the box is empty and they leave. I've witnessed that.
Yeah, but they got those brochures at Kennedy office. Just saying.
I screwed up, man. Can you picture that? This is what people do. They show up and do nothing, or they show up and they barf all over everybody. And neither one of those is the right way to network. And neither one of those is the right way to show up on LinkedIn. The right way to show up on LinkedIn does not take a lot of time. It's fairly easy to do. Is to show up and maybe share something every now and then, once a week. If you shared a piece of content that's relevant, of interest, transparent, relevant, useful, honest, and engaging, it's called true, T-R-U-H-E. Shared a piece of content that's not about you, that's not about your company, once a week, you become a superstar to your network because you're giving them something that's transparent, relevant, useful, honest, and or engaging, exciting, educational, entertaining, whatever. You walk into a room and give somebody something, they go, oh my God, you become a superstar. If you do that 9 times out of 10, you show up and you give them something that they may appreciate. Like, not everybody's going to appreciate the stuff you share, but if some do, maybe if different people, different times do. If you give a piece of content that's not about you and not about your firm, then on the 10th time, you can make it all about you. And they'll be accepting of that. Most firms show up, most companies show up on LinkedIn and think the right thing to do, and I'm pretty blunt about this, so I apologize if anybody's not subscribing to my philosophy, and they think the thing to do is every single post is about them. And then they wonder why nobody looks at their company pages and nobody engages in their content. Because you were that lady or that dude, actually it was 3 ladies that worked for a gym, that they worked for a local gym in Winston-Salem. And every time they came in, we knew what they were going to do, and nobody paid attention to them. And they had to sort of like force the brochures into our hands. The same thing on LinkedIn. Show up, give a nugget, give a smile, share something about your wedding. Be human. Don't make it about you. Yeah, the wedding's about your wife, not you. You know, and people will be more accepting of your marketing material. And then here's the other big thing about it's called engaging on content. Don't rely on pushing out content to build your brand, because the most powerful way to build your brand is to get into other people's conversations. Look, we could try hard all day long to get our content to go viral, and it's never going to go viral. At one time, it's never going to go viral. You might get excited one time because 15 people liked it, but it's not going to happen. You know, yes, there are those outliers that it does happen, but it's not going to happen. So if you can't really get your content to go viral, so your brand gets out there, your personal and your professional brand, then go play in other people's content. Show up in other conversations that are relevant to you and your target audience. When you walk into the middle of a group of people who are relevant to you and you join in the conversation and you don't hijack the conversation, you're appreciated. Don't hijack that conversation because she'll smack me. But join other people's conversations. Other people don't do this. And they wonder why they're not getting any value out of LinkedIn. So that's and there's a million ways to do it. And, you can, there's dozens and dozens of different ways to share content, what type of content. Don't share the same thing over and over again. Companies that show up with their blog posts over and over and over and over again, people tune that out. But if you show up with a video, show up with a picture, show up with a document, show up with a link to something you found in the Harvard Business Review that's of interest, that's not behind a gated wall that nobody can see unless they're paying for it, that aggravates the crap out of me.
Yeah.
But if you show up with different types of content that's relevant to your target audience / client / customer or whatever, different types of content excite people because you don't know who wants what. Some people want a meme. Some people want a video. Some are willing to read a 1,000 word article on LinkedIn. Not everybody is.
Iron Man.
Yeah, as long as it's not, yeah.
I just,
Yeah, he
just
could write
saw
1,000.
a meme earlier today that said, all colleges,
Paper must be at least 8 pages.
single space, blah, 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 real life. If you don't sell me in 7 seconds, I'm not paying any more attention.
Something about
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's the same thing on LinkedIn. If you don't get my attention in the what's called the editorial, I call it the editorial. When Robert Stein, who's a buddy of mine, shares this slate.com article, he better tell me why I should read this here. Most people don't do this. They just share. They hit the share button and tell me why you want me to read it. And that will get my attention as long as you use the right words. Questions, and I'm just touching the surface of this. Questions about engaging, sharing, commenting. Give you another quick tip. So if your company page, go to Charles Harris. Anybody know Charles Harris? You share content. Never, ever, ever ask your people to share your stuff. Never ask them to share your content. Ask them to engage on it. Because when you share a piece of content, it creates a competing piece of content. But when they engage on it with the comment, it takes that piece of content and gets it more reach. Yeah. It's a big philosophy. Most people don't measure. This is the kind of weird stuff that I measure on a regular basis. You want your piece of content to grow, don't ask them to share it.
Teddy, I think we got just a little over time now, but
Yeah, I'm shutting down now.
Yeah.
Anybody, any other questions, thoughts?
What did the U stand for in truth?
Transparent, relevant, useful.
What are your thoughts on InMail?
Most people don't know how to use it. For me, I decided to use InMail for relationship development. And one way I create relationships is by helping other people. So if I got somebody, somebody asked me, so Teddy, can you introduce me to, this guy named, this lady named Meredith, and you gave me some reason why you should meet Meredith, then I may use an InMail to message Meredith, say, Meredith, I have a friend who has a need. And that works for me. I don't use it for selling. Maybe I'll use it to invite someone to a conversation, but never for sales. And I got a bunch of them. Josh?
The strategy I use, and I'm curious of your opinion, is probably a little different where maybe you're not a content creator where you have golden nuggets you're sharing, but you're trying to build those relationships on LinkedIn. So I use tagging quite a bit, right? Tag the company, write that, do the blurb like you said for 2 or 3 sentences, but make sure don't waste an opportunity, I think, to drive that tag, right? So excited to see Warden Smith is in this space of privacy and data security. I know this attorney posted a neat blog. Is that something that you'd recommend? Is that, I don't even know what it does with the algorithm in LinkedIn.
Well, here's what
but
it does.
seems to like,
See the notify button?
right, well, I know that.
If you tag me, it puts it right there. And then I see that I got tagged and I don't know if I have any in here. And then it makes me go look at that content. And if I go look at that content, maybe I want to engage on it. I'm all about mentioning or tagging people where relevant and appropriate.
Right, okay.
But don't be that person that tags 50 people and hope and pray your content goes viral, because then I'll be hating on you.
Right.
So look, this is what I do all day long. I love to do it. I'll offer it every one of you. If you ever have a question, just ask. I have a YouTube channel with 1,500 videos on it about one topic and one topic only: dust money collecting or LinkedIn. And I only create content to answer questions that I'm asked. So ask me questions and I'll help you. Thank you for letting me come. Hey, I got gifts from my friends. Who's the first person you should connect with on LinkedIn? The first group of people.
People you
People
know.
you
People you know.
People you know.
Mallory.
What's the most important thing that you can say in your LinkedIn profile?
It's relevant to the customer.
I'm good with that. You're speaking to your target audience.
Stand up.
You're speaking to your target. You need to be speaking clearly to them. Oh, I got two more, huh?
You got lots of stuff.
No, but you got two more I gotta do, yeah. What's the best content you can share on your company page?
Other people. I know. I just wanted to.
No, I'm with you on that. No, think a little deeper. What's the best content you can give?
What you can do for them.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Liz.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Catherine.
What's one nugget that you got from this conversation that is the most powerful thing you heard in this short little spiel?
It's not a resume, it's a brochure.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Now there's relevance in making it speak to the right people, but it's not a resume.
Yeah.
You know what your resume is? It's your obituary in development. And that's not people in business today. We should not be hiring based on ongoing obituaries. We should be hiring on what you can do to serve me. Thank you for letting me share. And
Thank you.
Meredith, Sean, Claudine, thank you.